Patience, and thank you for coming out this evening to our critical conversations with our new superintendent of schools, Dr. Morsees J. Beasley. Before Dr. Beasley comes to take the mic, I just want to recognize if we have any dignitaries in the room. I know we have a small crowd tonight, but you're just as important. If you are a member of the faith-based community, please stand to be acknowledged, and/or an elected official. So we don't have any present, but we welcome you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come to our third session this evening. So we have some exciting news as we prepare for the new school year. Dr. Beasley will present to you and we'll entertain questions immediately following his presentation. So we ask you to just hold to after that time, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have this evening. And again, welcome, and it is an honor and privilege for me to present to you our new superintendent of schools, Dr. Morsees J. Beasley.
Thank you, Jada. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Familiar faces on tonight. Thank you all for being here. We apologize for being a few minutes late. We were at the millage hearing, and then we made some recommendations tonight that the board entertained and approved. So we're just glad we were able to make it over here. But thank you again for being here on tonight. We know it's summertime and families are vacationing as they should be, having fun. But we thought we'd at least give some parents who wanted to come in and have a conversation with us an opportunity to do so before school actually started, realizing we have some other conversations scheduled once school starts. But for those who were just didn't have anything to do, we thought we'd offer them an opportunity to come and just share. This gives me an opportunity to share with you my ideas and my vision and the work that we're going to be engaged in, but also gives you an opportunity to share your thoughts, challenges that you may see, ideas, strengths that you may see the district has. So as we formulate our action steps, we can ensure that we've heard from all stakeholders, we capture the ideas, and we inform the decisions that we're going to make. That's just very important to me. I just want you all to know that my vision is for this district to be very high performing, period. And when I say that, I don't say it with a lot of fluff, I say it with a whole lot of seriousness. I just expect our students, I know that our students can perform at higher levels, but I also know that it takes a community, it takes very specific actions to occur for students to perform at higher levels. I'm very clear about what it takes relative to teaching and learning. I'm very clear about what needs to happen relative to instructional resources. I'm very clear about what needs to happen relative to teacher quality, leader quality. I'm very clear about what needs to happen as it pertains to our central office staff, our policies and procedures and practices. The goal is to create a culture of high performing, which creates high performing outcomes naturally. So you'll see a big emphasis on collaborative decision making, engaging parents. I want this community to be a part of the work. That is just so important. If you go to any high performing school district, I can assure you the parents are engaged. The parents are engaged. And so if we're going to be a high performing school district, and we are, I want our parents engaged. So you will see numerous opportunities to engage with me, to engage at the school level, to engage at the classroom level, because that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. You'll see that I have a commitment to supporting teachers in the classroom, making sure that they have the resources, because I just believe in teaching and learning. I believe in what happens in that classroom. I believe that it's in the classroom where the difference is made in the lives of our children. I'm a teacher at heart. I loved teaching when I was a high school math teacher. I love my students, and I did everything that I could to ensure that they mastered the content that I was teaching them. And I want to support teachers to that end, and I want their students to be successful. I want to support school leaders. The job of a principal is very difficult. It's one of the hardest jobs in America, because you got to balance sometimes a lot of competing groups and priorities. And you've got to do it in such a way that you bring everybody together, don't you? And so we want to support principals. We want to ensure that we coach them up, we train them up so they can be the best instructional leaders that produce what I would expect, higher levels of student achievement. I want you all to know that this year we'll be engaged in the SACS accreditation process, strategic planning process, so you'll hear more information about community engagement sessions. And please, I need your help. Once that word, the information is communicated, we need our parents to attend. It shouldn't be the case that when we go to these engagement sessions and we're asking parents to attend and participate, that they're not there. So our job is to ensure that parents are informed, and I'm asking for your help to get the word out once we communicate that information and encourage parents to participate, because as we improve this school district, it's going to fundamentally change the quality of life for our community. Of course, property values are going to increase. More businesses will come into the community, more jobs, higher paying jobs, etc. More kids will end up exercising post-secondary options clearly, which means that the more education they have, the higher the income, the family income, which means the family can do more. That's important. I don't care what you say. It's important at the end of every month that you have enough money to pay for your house and your car and your groceries and your utilities, and have a little extra money to take a little trip if you like to do so. And I want our kids to have opportunities, our students to have opportunities. And you and I know in America, the level of one's education has a lot to do with the opportunities that one is afforded. And so we want our students, if they choose not to go to college, that may be their choice, but I don't want it to be because they didn't get the good education or that they weren't prepared to go. If they choose whatever path that they choose, we want to ensure that post-secondary options are afforded to them and that they're prepared for those options. I think it's very important that we engage our community, realizing that many of our parents are working sometimes 2 and 3 jobs. And so we've got to find some creative ways of engaging our community. We've got to combat clearly some mindsets relative to education not necessarily being a priority at times. We have to acknowledge that reality. But I think that if we come together as a community, as a village, we'll be able to do that, agree on, or at least come to some consensus on some of the strategies that we need to employ, implement those strategies, and work to see improvements. I think the work is to ensure that our community is better, it's healthy, and that we have a consistent focus on doing what's good and what's right for our children. A community that loves its children, that protects its children, that makes the right decision relative to its children, that's a healthy community. That's a healthy community. And so we want to ensure that our children remain the focus. And you have my commitment. Every decision that I make is going to be about children. It's going to be about our children. I've always been the one, even when I was a principal, I would call the young men's sons and the young girl daughters, because they were my children. And I would often tell them if some crazy deranged person came into the school to harm them, while they may be running away, I'll be running toward that person, because I'm going to do whatever I can to protect my children, even if that means that I have to lose my own life. And that's just what we do. That's what we do. And I've been blessed that we've not had to encounter that type of situation when there are school districts and schools around the nation that have. But on a day-to-day basis, that's what we as principals and teachers and educators do. We are there. And if something happens, we step up to the plate. We may have to put our own lives on the line to protect our children, but that's what we do. And we're honored to serve in this capacity. I want you to know that you'll see, if you go to the website, you'll see our 90-day plan. So it's out there for you to go and look at. Within a few days, you'll see the superintendent's critical actions over the next 3 years, a document that I'll be updating and modifying over time as I have these conversations. But since I've been in the district since last July, I have a pretty good idea of areas that we need to be working on. And so I've already formulated some action steps. And so I'll be posting that once I make some tweaks to it within the day or so. And you'll see that document as well. Clearly, we'll go through the advanced ed strategic planning process where we want to engage the community in the development of our new vision statement, our mission, our beliefs, and the goals, the strategic goals and the strategies that we will employ over the next 3 to 5 years. And so we want you to be a part of that process. But staff knows that my motto and my theme is committed to high performance. I want high-performing employees. I want high-performing students. And we're going to work to that end. I want you to know, parents, that you have my support. You have access, and that's why you're going to have numerous opportunities to engage with me, with staff, with one another as we handle and do the business of this school district. I'm committed to ensuring that this community gets the very best as it deserves, the very best relative to education. I'm working with the agencies, all the mayors, the commissioners, the elected officials, the various colleges and universities, including Clayton State. I'm already working, and we're meeting with the judges in the court system, because we're going to work to improve this community. And I know that this school system cannot do it in isolation. And so I'm so pleased, and really I'm having fun. I'll be very honest with you, because I'm doing the work that I know should be done. Even if I wasn't appointed superintendent, I know that this is the work that should be done. And I'm just pleased to have the opportunity to do it. I want to recognize board member Dr. Anderson, who's here, and I know you all just finished with the board meeting and millage hearing, so thank you for being here on today. But I'm just excited, you all, and pleased for this opportunity to fundamentally make fundamental shifts in our district to move us in the right direction. I think our community is ready for high levels of achievement, and they don't want status quo. They want to see, what are we going to do fundamentally different that's going to produce better outcomes, significant outcomes, improved outcomes for our children. And I am working diligently, and will be working diligently with staff, principals, and teachers to ensure that that occurs for our community. I really believe that our community loves its children, and they want the very best for the children in Clayton County. And we're going to continue to build upon that love, respect that love, and do what it takes to ensure that all of our children, all groups, everyone is successful. And I just appreciate you all's help and support to that end. You'll hear more to come as we prepare to provide superintendent updates at the board meetings in July and August and beyond, as we prepare for the other critical conversations. Just know that there will be more to come. We'll be very clear about what we're doing instructionally. We'll be very clear about what we're doing relative to developing leaders and retaining leaders. We'll be very clear about how we're improving our processes, whether they're HR related, whether they're business or budget related. We'll be very clear and transparent about what we're doing to improve this district. And that's why I want you to come to opportunities like this, because this will be an opportunity, if you will, a face-to-face opportunity. And for those who can't make these face-to-face opportunities that we have with the community, we'll be always live streaming. So people who can't make it, no excuse to not at least participate and hear, and then go online, and you can follow up after this meeting. Go online, there's a link, and share feedback, because I value what the feedback, the good, the bad, the concerns, the strengths, the weaknesses. I value that, because as I read it, it gives me a perspective, it gives me a context of what we need to do, what I'm dealing with, and then it helps inform the decisions that I have to make. And it even informs the leadership that I provide to the staff as we ensure that we address the areas that need to be addressed. And so, again, thank you for being here. But I didn't want to say too much. I really wanted to provide you an opportunity to share anything that you would want to share. I realize it's late. You've been working or engaged all day, so I know you don't plan on being here very long on tonight. But I want you to share what's on your heart, what's on your mind, and I'll answer any question that you have. If I don't know the answer, anyone knows, I'll say I don't know the answer to that, but we'll sure diligently work to find out what the answer is. So I'll pause here. We do have some microphones, and if you would like to ask questions, make comments, or share, feel free to do so at this time.
And if you'll raise your hand, we will come to you. Okay. Our board member, Alika Anderson, Doctor.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I just want to let you all know that as a board, we have worked diligently to get Dr. Beasley here, and I just appreciate him coming out to talk to the community. I wish more people were here. Because when it comes down to children, we are very passionate about children, and you know, we want everybody to be involved. So again, you all have my number, and if you don't have my number, get it tonight. Anything that you all need, I'm going to be here for you. You all know that if you need me, I'm up to 12 o'clock at night taking phone calls. So I'm always working diligently, and I have a child that's in the district. And again, when we brought Dr. Beasley in, we knew that he was going to be a great person for our school district. We knew that he was going to move our children where they need to be. And all I ask you all to do is work with them at home. Just work with our children. That's our children, not just yours. They're mine, they're his, they're all of us. And we need to work together. It's time for us to come together as a community. It's time for us to take our children back. I don't want to see our children in the penal system. I want to see our children doing great things, and they can do great things. And we have to push our children to greatness. Our kids are not going to end up sitting on channel 2, 5, and 11. People everywhere I go, I want to just tell you, I went to Home Depot today, and as I was in Home Depot, one of the parents, her child is coming from the city of Decatur, and she said, well, Dr. Anderson, I don't know if I want to put my child in Clayton County Public Schools because I still have this stigma of you all losing accreditation. I said, listen, don't worry about that. You're worrying about the wrong thing, because your child is going to be where he or she is going to be, not based on what we do as teachers, as educators, but we have a great impact, but it's based on what you do at home. So again, take care of your children. Push them to do great, and have them ready to come to school. Tell them school is a great place to be. You have people that love you. You have people that love you from the top to the bottom. So again, I thank you all for coming out, and just know that your children are going to be well taken care of this year. Right. And anything that you need, we're here.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson.
I guess I'll be the first parent. To your note, Dr. Anderson, thank you, Dr. Beasley, for coming. I feel your passion in your heart, so I appreciate you for your commitment. My question is, as a parent, as a PTO president at the school, how do we get that message into the community? Where do we go? Because obviously these sessions may not be what's needed. Are we going into the schools, into the communities? Any bright ideas so that message, the 20 people in this room, we get it.
Well, that's a good question, and I want to assure you that while, again, it's summertime, and so this is for those like yourself who are available, we will be having these conversations within our communities that we've already scheduled. And we'll be using as many media formats as possible to get the word out, And I want you all as parents to make a note. Infinite Campus, the place you go to check grades, and we'll be posting all the district announcements in there. And so we want parents to get in the habit of going to Infinite Campus, checking the grades, of course, of our students, making sure that they're making the progress that they should make, but pay attention to those announcements as well. Of course, we'll post on the website, we'll do media releases, whatever, when we can and need to, we'll have the radio, we'll do television, we'll do all of those things. But you know, sometimes if you've been in marketing, the best way is the word of mouth, isn't it? The word of mouth. And so we want to get, I'm connected with all the PTAs, and so we've developed and we've reignited all those relationships this year. I've already met with them. So the word is getting out. The word is getting out, and we're going to do everything we can. We've connected with the school councils. We want, of course, we'll be working with our principals to push the word out as well. But we need our parents. You know, parents, like I say, sheep beget sheep. We need our parents to help pull in other parents, don't we? And so more to come, but we hear you. And so you'll see, I really believe you'll see more engagements, especially as we take these type conversations and we go into the various communities where the schools actually are. Okay?
We'll get you next.
Hi, my name is Nina Smith Bankhead. I have a son in Clayton County School District at Lovejoy High School. One of the challenges that we've been fortunate actually. My son has gone through Clayton County schools from Church Street Elementary through to Lovejoy right now. So, and we've encountered some really amazing teachers along the way. We have also had situations where we didn't have teachers that I believe should have stayed in the district and probably needed to move on. My question is, what is the plan, or what thoughts do you have about ways that we can recruit some more of those really top-notch teachers? Are there incentive plans, or just what kinds of things are you thinking about to recruit? I know last year my son had a situation where he had a substitute teacher for most of the year, so I'm not sure that he really got out of that class in that session what he was supposed to get out of it, and I'm concerned that he got a grade, but I don't know that he knows anything in that class. Fortunately, it wasn't one of the most, I don't want to say any class is not important, it wasn't the most critical course, but at the same time, it's important for him to learn in any class that he's in. So what are we doing, or what's the plan to help recruit long-term and committed, dedicated teachers so we don't have a teacher for most of a school year that really doesn't have an incentive to be there? They're a substitute, basically a glorified babysitter, especially at a high school level.
Very good question. You should know that this year we've ramped up our recruitment efforts. We are recruiting more nationally. We're taking advantage of some platforms that are known to be excellent platforms for recruiting teachers. We are identifying more candidates who we can work with to train them up, who may have degrees, provide them some provisional certificates, and provide the training and support so they can be good teachers so we don't have subs in our classrooms. We are working to ensure that we change the culture in the district, because oftentimes people leave because they just don't like your vision, or they don't like what you're doing, or they don't like the leadership at the school, or they don't like the way we do things. And so we're working very diligently to ensure that we create that healthy organization so people will want to stay in our school district. And I think that really starts with the leader, with the superintendent. If I'm a healthy individual and I organize and I'm consistent and I'm respectful of people, then everyone else should be organized, consistent, and respectful of people. And so I think you'll see some fundamental differences this year. I'm told, even though I told them I want to see the data on Monday, I'm told we're in a better place this year, this time, than we were last year and previous years this time. And so we're working to make sure that we start with as few vacancies, 0 vacancies if at all possible, but as few vacancies as possible. But we're being very creative, exploring all the options that are available to us to ensure, realizing that we're in a very competitive market, being in the metro area, and we've got a national teacher shortage. So we've got 2 things that are working against us right now, which means that, as your question implies, we've got to do some things so that instead of teachers going to the counties next door in north, south, east, and west, they'll think about coming to our county. And so we're working to look at the teacher pay. Over time, we've got to make sure that there are no issues. We don't want them leaving because of that issue. We want every school to be a high-performing culture. We don't want them leaving because they feel like the school has low expectations. And discipline, we want to make sure that discipline is where it ought to be, because we don't want teachers leaving because they feel like our kids are out of control. And so we're looking at all of those variables, and we've started working on all of those. And while technically I've been superintendent effectively since July 1, since I have been in the district, last year as chief school improvement officer, we began working on a lot of these things. And now being superintendent, it just gives me a good reason to get my hand in more more things to make sure that we're making those right decisions, and we've been doing just that. Okay, so you'll see a difference, and we'll be sharing updates at the board meetings when we have sessions like this that speak to that topic that you just mentioned, to show you the improvements that are occurring. But I want you to hold me accountable. We expect to see those areas improve. We expect that. And so that means that we've got to be very creative and comprehensive in our approach to ensure that we eliminate the vacancy problem. We've got to think out of the box. We've got to use the tools that are available to us. And then sometimes you got to train up your people. You know, sometimes you know, principals have to know, you know, they may be waiting for some shining, you know, some person with the, you know, coming from somewhere with all the, everything, they know how to do everything. They're waiting for that person. Well, the truth of the matter is you're not going to find perfect people. So let's find the best people, qualified people, and train them up. Give them a chance. And then I love encouraging people to come into education too. I think as a community, we need to recognize that education is the staple of our community. And so as parents, I'm encouraging you to tell your children to think about coming into education. We've got jobs, we've got benefits, we've got stability. And I hadn't seen many educators' children go hungry. And so I just want us to, we've got to grow our own. And so you'll even see we've got some ideas that we've been tossing around about how can we encourage our students in the district to go to Clayton State and other places, get their education and come back and teach for us here in Clayton County Schools. So we're going to be thinking rather creatively. So just more to come in that area, but thank you for that question. And it's come up in every session.
Good evening. I'm Helen McCroskey, and I am a grandmother of children who will be coming into the system. Okay. That's my most important job. But my other job is I work for United Way of Greater Atlanta. And I guess I want to know, how are you going to work collaboratively with organizations who want to support the school system?
That's a good question. You should know I've already gone to one United Way meeting, and we've had some good conversations about them being, because of their role working with nonprofits, how uniquely positioned they are to really help us identify resources within the community. And so we've shared some ideas about them possibly creating some databases that we can get to our principals. So if there's a need in some particular areas, we can identify very quickly partners that are available to assist with those areas. But you should know, according to our org chart that the board supports, I created an office called Community Engagement, Governmental Relations, and Partnerships. So we're going to work strategically to increase and develop our partnerships as we identify the needs. And I'm in the process. That's one of the reasons for having meetings like this. I'm identifying what are the areas that we need our partners to support us in. I think it's important that you know what those areas are, because if you get 1,000 partners, you can't do 1,000 different things. We need them to come into the district and help us in the areas that we identify as areas of need for our students. And so we're working to do that as well. So you'll see more to come. You'll be getting updates relative to how we're doing with the partnerships. And once I get an executive in place that will run that department, I'll have a face. I'll have somebody with some competence, and they'll bring in and build that department, because it doesn't exist. We're creating that department. And you will see some fundamental differences relative to partnerships, engagement, family engagement, and our governmental relations in our school district. And I want to throw this out there. I even think if you go to a lot of high-performing districts, they have educational foundations for their school systems. I want us to create an educational foundation for our school system. And so more to come in that regard. Of course, you got to have parents. You got to have a diverse set of people to sit on the board of governors for that, or the board of directors. But there's no reason for our school district not to have an educational foundation that is dedicated solely to supporting the students in Clayton County Public Schools. And so that's one of the to-dos on my list to create. We're going to work with whoever we have got to work with to create a foundation in our school system, to support the children in our school system. So more to come. Thank you for the question.
Hello.
Hello.
I am a homeowner in Clayton County, and I am a parent of a fourth grader at Suter Elementary School. And my two biggest concerns for my young African-American male is he is in fourth grade, and so I feel very good with the education that he's getting at the elementary school level. But my biggest concern for him is middle school and high school. The safety within the school system, you know, we see in the media, all the things with, you know, students recording, other students being beaten in the bathrooms, and bullying and guns and weapons and drugs, gangs. Like, do you have specific strategies for middle school and elementary school? Because I would love to stay in the county, but that's one of my biggest concerns, is sending him to middle and high school.
Very good.
So that's one concern that I do have. And then another concern that I have is that, you know, we are all here, we are dedicated parents, and probably the same parents that go to the same events all the time. But do you have specific strategies for parents that are not engaged, that are not coming out? Because that's who we need to reach, because I hate to say it, but a lot of times those parents who are sending their students to school that are not ready to learn, they are disruptive in the classroom, and it takes away from our children learning. So, like, what specific strategy do you have for those parents that are not engaged? Because if you get an engaged parent, they're going to come, they're going to do what they need to do, but what about those that are not engaged?
Very good. That's a very good and a fair question. I'll just answer it relative to the second part first, engaging those parents that are not engaged. One thing we're going to do is we're working with our principals to redefine what engagement is. And you'll see we're going to start using technology a whole lot, and that's why I need you all's help. We understand that people are, for whatever reason, they're very busy. And so I want to redefine engagement so that if you're not here face to face, right now, and if you're not here, if you have your iPhone, you can participate in this meeting online. And so we're going to do more of getting our parents aware of the opportunities. If you can't come, we'd like to see you face to face, but just in case you can't, take out your phone and participate. We're going to be working with our teachers and principals to ensure that within the first month of school, teachers are contacting our parents, not to say what's wrong, but to just say, we're here to offer support, etc. So I want you to know, we want to take advantage of the Infinite Campus, where teachers can email parents and students. We want to do more of that. See, every contact to me is engagement. Every contact. Yes, we have the PTAs, we've got the school councils. Those are important as well, and I've met with PTA to identify some district-wide activities that we're going to do starting this year. When I get this new department staff, you're going to see we're going to take some workshops on the road. We're not going to ask them to come to us, we're going to go to them. I'm already, this Saturday, I'm going to a homeowners association. So I have staff working to find out where all these homeowner associations are, apartment complexes, etc. You know, and sometimes you wait on people to come to you and you got to go to them. And so we're going to do those type things. And sometimes you just be amazed, if they see you come to them one time, they'll come to you. They'll come to you. So I need you all's help. If you know of opportunities that would, if we could be there, that would help build that bridge and that relationship, let us know. We may not can make it to every one of them, but we can be strategic about which ones we can make it to. So more to come in that area. One thing I want parents to start doing, engagement, I want them to start checking grades. I want parents to, if nothing else, log in and check those grades and that attendance. Is that fair enough? And if we can do that, that is a start, isn't it? They can check grades with their iPhones. They can even use the app to give alerts, to set up alerts. So if the kid makes a below a 70 or below a 80, it alerts you may need to contact the teacher or something. You know, those are ways to engage parents. And we want to acknowledge that we've got some young parents who may not know sometimes what to do. And we acknowledge that respectfully, and we're going to provide some parent training, and we're going to go to them. And so more to come as we get more people in place. And we're going to get out of these walls, if you will, and get into our community to get more people engaged. I've already met with Judge Teskey, and we're going to create this year a special court just for attendance. So that's going to get us engaged. And you all know we've got, unfortunately, we've got some folk who won't let the children make the children come to school until they get a letter that says you got to be in front of the judge. Well, I'm okay with that. I need the children where? In school. We can't achieve higher levels of performance if children are not coming to school every day. And so you'll see very quickly an order that says committed to high performance. We've got a special court. And so we met today with a group of individuals already to address, to figure out ways to get into our community, to get our parents who may not be engaged. So more to come. And I'll be pleased to share those updates as we have these type conversations, not just here at this facility, but as we kind of go into the communities. But I think we'll get more participation as we do these at the schools as well.
We also want to acknowledge that we have another board member who's joined us this evening, Ms. Jessie Goree. Thank you so much.
Lori, thank you.
Next question.
Oh yeah, I wanted Chief to share what we're doing, because you
Okay,
mentioned
we'll entertain her second.
You mentioned elementary and middle school safety.
Middle and high school safety. With all the things that are going on.
So let us share what we're doing. I forgot he was standing behind me.
Feel good and comfortable, and we send our children to school. We want to be at work and be at peace.
Yeah.
And not, be worrying about what could be happening.
Well, let me assure you all, last year we had, we had several student death situations that occur in the community. But I do, and we're going to work with our community to see what we can do to even get our kids off the streets so they won't be in those situations. But I can assure you that we've been working diligently to ensure that when they come to school, that they're in safe environments. We're strengthening the code of conduct this year. We're reorganizing safety and security, and he's going to discuss that. We're doing some programming at the elementary, middle school level. We did some programming at the high school level, and we're going to continue those efforts to ensure that we create this culture of high performance and that we focus on ensuring we have a safe, secure environment. So let's allow Chief to share things that he's doing in that regard.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Thomas Trawick. I'm the Chief of Safety and Security, and let me be honest with you, this is of the utmost importance to me. I feel like all of these students are my students, and I take responsibility when things occur. It hurts me. So what we did is, first of all, we researched districts that have had success, and I don't mean just in Atlanta, in the metro. I did some research to see what makes a good, safe district. And I think the first thing you have to do is we have to have resources in place. So we've done some restructuring. We've also found in the research that you can't wait until they're seniors. You have to reach our young students when they're younger and establish a rapport with them and establish that relationship. Most importantly, they have to trust you. So what we're doing, the first thing we're doing is we're focusing on the underserved. And the ones that I'm identifying as underserved are the elementary schools. Because when we started this school resource officers program, not just in Georgia, but nationally, we focused on the middle school and high school. But we didn't think about establishing the relationships from a young age and building that relationship so when they become seniors, you already have a rapport with them and they trust the police. Now, I don't care if they don't trust Clayton County, but they got to love me, okay? And that's what we want. We want them to have that relationship. So what we've done is we believe in high performance as well. I don't think high performance just stops with the instructional piece. I think it should permeate throughout the organization, especially with us, especially in the climate that we're in now with law enforcement. So that's what we're doing at the elementary school level. We're also going back to the basics. You remember when you were in school, you had safety patrol programs, you had things of that nature, and it gave the students that authority and it empowered them. We're going back to that. We've already started it at the middle school and some of the elementary schools. We're looking at our GREAT training, that's gang resistance education training and awareness training, so that we can educate, and we're doing more mentoring. And my philosophy is less policing, more mentoring, more relationship building. Because I was an SRO, ladies and gentlemen. I did this in the 90s. I was in Savannah, Georgia. We had one of the worst schools in the district. But because I established the relationships, students would give me information. So in a 2-year time frame, we went from the worst school to the best school in the district. So I know we can do it. But those are just a few. Our mentoring, our safety patrol, student courts. We also found that if you empower students, they will put harder or greater sanctions than adults will. So we want all of that. We want it to be cool to talk to the police. And that's what we're doing. Just a few of many strategies. And I promise you, we're going to have a better year this year. I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure that we have better outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So that was one of my concerns as well. I'm a parent of a rising sixth grader as well as a first grader. So her concerns was my concern, so thank you for addressing that. I also wanted to ask about do you have the PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Support, in the schools? And is that throughout all of Clayton County schools, or is that still being implemented?
We have it in the district. We have certain schools that are in various stages of implementation. We are currently in conversations about expanding the number of schools that are implementing PBIS.
Okay.
But I think one thing I'd like to share, there are various components of PBIS that you don't need PBIS officially to implement. Mm-hmm. If you go into a PBIS school and they have the charts on the wall about high expectations, et cetera, I would expect every school to do that. Mm-hmm. And so we're working with our principals. We're going to expand PBIS, but we're working with everyone to ensure that all the elements of PBIS, they should exist on any campus anyway.
They should.
They should. And so you don't need the so-called designation to be a PBIS school in order to do the things that we know the research says improve student behavior, thereby improving student learning. And so we're working with our schools to do that. But I appreciate the question. I think we have about, I want to say 13 schools that are implementing PBIS, and we're planning to expand those who are going through the official, if you will, PBIS implementation.
So would that include as well a school-based therapist that are on site for the schools?
Not necessarily every school getting a school-based therapist, but every school having access to the appropriate resources.
Okay.
Which may include access to a psychologist, access to social workers, etc. All of our schools currently have access to all of those resources.
Okay.
Not necessarily a full-time one at every school,
okay,
but they do have, if you will, schools that they are assigned to support.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
My name is Ana Quiñones. I'm Vasquez. I'm a mother of 2 children, an uprising 6th grader and an 8th grader. They have, I'm also a homeowner here in Clayton County. I'm not used to speaking so much, so if I sound nervous, not used to this. Anyhow, I have they've attended school since kindergarten, so I've seen the difference, and it's been worse and worse and worse. I also have a parent that sent me a text that they wanted me to read because they're also the parent of a special needs child. There was a lot of services that were there. They're no longer there. Sometimes there's not even a speech pathologist to give these students what they need, the minimal. The least restrictive environment we don't get for them a lot of times. How are we going to make sure that these children are engaged the way that they should be? By the way, I've been hearing you all day, live streaming. I just couldn't get out here till now. I needed somebody at home with the kids. But, you know, that's a big concern of mine because we're really debating selling our home and leaving. And so is this other parent. And they also have a child, well, they have 3 children with special needs, one with special needs, and they're also an uprising sixth grader. That's a big concern because where are the services? Where is the funding going? You know, and a lot of times, I guess, if you don't have children that are dealing through this or a family member, you don't understand. What are we, all as one, going to do to make sure that this is taken care of? You know, and if you'd like, I could read you her text, or I can give it to you, whichever works best.
That would be great. And you know, one thing we want to do is, and the district has clearly resources available to support students, whether it be speech therapy, etc. If there are specific schools, I want to know exactly what where.
I'm sure a lot of parents are willing to speak to you, but a lot of times it's like we're brushed away. Like, and I'm one of these parents that everybody from the top on down, they know who I am. You know, you mentioned my name, they're like, oh, I know whose mom that is, you know, because I want to make sure that these services, the minimal, is giving at least to my child. And I will fight because their education to me is first. It was first in my household, like it is first for them to have.
If parents are talking to you and sharing that with you because you are a parent leader, then I need you talking to me. So we can figure out exactly what is not being done. And you should know we're in the process of hiring some key leadership for special ed student services.
Awesome.
And we're looking at the role of all of those, if you will, those support positions to ensure that we're organized the way we need to be, that services are being provided, IEPs are being written, and most of all, IEPs are being implemented.
Exactly.
In the way that they should be implemented.
You're aware.
So how am I aware?
Which has been a big battle for me, because I know what our children's rights are. And I will fight for that, especially for my child and everybody else's. I mean, I speak to other children's parents in this county, and it's like, no, that's not okay. And they know up top it's not okay. I'm very excited that you're here, because maybe it is those changes that we've been needing forever, because we haven't had it. I mean, and like I said, I'm one of these parents that I complain, and I'll talk to other parents. No, it's not okay. We need to get together and, you know, fight for our children, because at least the minimal is not even being given to them. A lot of times they didn't have a speech pathologist, and all parents are being told is, I'm just letting you know, we don't have anybody, but it's given to them in the classroom. No, that's not okay. You know, or OT, or whatever the case may be with different students. These are services that are required. It's on your IEP. It needs to be followed. You know, and yeah, there will be a lot of parents, I'm sure if they haven't already started, that they're going to be knocking, and, you know, trying to get answers. Because
very good, and I want you to make sure you get my email, because I want to hear very specifically, because that's going to help me inform some of the actions that we need to take to improve and eliminate those issues and those concerns, okay?
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you for being here and sharing that. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to say thank you so much for you and your team providing this session. I mean, even the time, I know for me, it's one of the things that has been a challenge in terms of, I work in Atlanta, and sometimes the traffic can be a little, you know, crazy. Yeah. And so when we have meetings at the school, often they start at 5 o'clock, and which means I have to plan to leave by 4, 3:30. You know, sometimes it's difficult to get here on time. So I appreciate you guys for having this meeting at the time that you had it, and the others. For those who work at night, and you know, they can get here at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock for the other sessions. Okay, so I said all that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I've been a parent. I have a rising fifth grader at Jackson. And before he was even a student in the school system, I was a part of the community that was out with the accreditation. I remember Alika working so hard. I'm sorry, Dr. Anderson. You know, working really hard, and others, just working to get Clayton County back where it needs to be. And so I've been in the community, you know, doing a lot of different things, and I just appreciate you guys for, you know, your passion for our children, because they're important to us. Ms. Boyd and I both are parents at Jackson. I'm the vice president of PTO, And so we're really engaged in, with the school. Listen, we're always there. Well, she's there a little, she has a little bit more flexibility than I do, but we're really engaged, within the school. And I asked you this before at the other meeting, before you became the superintendent, but I'm back again to ask about the overcrowding at Jackson. So some of the things, it wasn't as bad this year as it was the previous year, so things are getting better, which is a great thing. And I see the little mobile units that are out there. I'm assuming they're for the kids. I don't know if it's for the summer or what, but my question is, one, about the overcrowding. Will there, the classroom sizes be a little bit smaller? Because my son there were 30 kids in his class just last year. I don't even think the classroom is big enough for 30 kids. It was so tight. It was, and it's not an environment that's conducive for learning. I mean, he's what do you call it? He's in the honors and all of that, and he does really well, and I'm blessed. But we work really hard with them. So my question is again about the overcrowding, not just at Jackson. I understand that there are overcrowding at other schools as well.
That's a great question. Relative to Jackson, they are getting some trailers this year because the board did reduce class size by about 3 or 4 students, which means that we have to have more teachers, and therefore we needed more classroom space. But Jackson is one of those areas that I have ideas that we've been thinking about over the last year. They have the magnet program, et cetera. So we've got we've got some space even at the middle school that we were considering, and so now that I'm superintendent, I can really do some more visioning and have some conversations with the board. We'll be, as we bring SPLOS 5 to a close, this is year 3, and as we start having conversations about SPLOS 6, it gives us an opportunity to discuss potentially some funding sources to help address the ideas that I have relative to easing the overcrowding at Jackson and providing a space near the middle school for those art students. And so we're working in that area. Of course, the board would have to support that, but I think it's a great idea. Last year we looked at it. We've got some space at the middle school that's basically unframed up that could house an entire school, if you will, especially the size of the number of art students at Jackson. And so we're thinking about some options there. Maybe since we have the middle school, which is a school of art, has an arts program, and it will provide some collaborative opportunities for the middle school and the elementary students, maybe possibly shifting them over there since we have the space. And I think it would be a good transition for those students as well. It would still be probably 2 separate schools because I don't believe in the K-8 concept because I guess with having small children, there's a fundamental difference between a 3rd grader and a 7th grader. But the buildings are designed in such a way that you could do the middle school where it is and do a K-5, and it will be totally separate. They have an administrative area, et cetera, and the principals are really excited about that option. So we'll be having more conversations. Of course, we've got to identify some funds to get the building framed up, classrooms framed up. But I got my board members here, and
That's in full support.
These are
That's what she said.
these are the money people. So more to come in that regard. We know, and so you will see some more trailers, but we will be engaged in enrollment balancing after we get more further direction from the board as to the next phase, so we can balance schools that are still being impacted by increased numbers of students. We've got some communities that have some overlapping boundaries that we know is contributing to the overcrowding of some schools, so we've got to address that as well. Okay? You're welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
I am a parent of, this is our 3rd child, and we're in high schools.
All right.
Going into the 11th grade. This is more work than the other 2 when they all were in elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
Times have gotten rough. what we've noticed with our son, and it's a boy, and of course we have all those issues. Friends are horrible because, again, parents are not involved. My biggest concern is I've seen in this past year, these kids move around a lot, especially in high school. I don't know whether parents are running or what are they doing, because something's wrong. You know, I've said this a couple of years ago. I think are we tracking this? Are we paying attention to who's coming in and out of our county and who's transferring from what school to what? Because there's an issue there. There's something there, and I don't know what it is. And it affects, and a lot of times it happens, of course we get school starts in August, and people start coming in, and then September, right after Labor Day, you get this flood of people that come in, and then by November, December, here they go, moving back out again. And then we come down to right after spring break, here they come back again. This is a problem. It messes up our numbers. I've been doing this for a long time with this school system. My sister told me, you love Clayton County. I said, I do, because I pay taxes here. And I'm going to fight till I can't fight anymore. Because I have children here, because I love everybody's child, and I'm a PTA person, and I'm an advocate for all of these children. I have a special needs son. And I've worked my butt off to get whatever he needs. That's my job. Parents don't understand what their job is. We have to reiterate to them what their job is. And they don't like me. I told them, I said, I can't work for Clayton County because my mouth is too big. I got to say what I need to say, and I got to tell people when they're right and when they're wrong. But I've always been been here. We just need to be a little bit more proactive with finding out what's going on with these numbers.
Yeah. Well,
because they hurt us.
Well, I think that's a good point, and that's one reason. Clearly, we've got a high mobility rate. Even when the state releases reports, Clayton has one of the highest mobility rates. But if you read, I know the article in the AJC a few months ago that talked about the number of rental places we have. Yes. You remember that article?
Yes.
See, all of these things are connected, whether people know that. And that's why it's important for me to connect with all of the agencies in the government, the commissioners and the county government and the mayors, so we can really talk about these problems. Because you got to acknowledge the reality of your community economically and the challenges that come with the various economic levels, and the rules, the laws that are in place that people have to deal with. And, you know, because sometimes if you can't pay the rent here and there's a special here in October, what are you going to do? You're going to leave here, you're going to go over here. And that means the kids have to change schools. And so there's a lot of variables that are at play. But I think that the role of the school district is to bring everybody to the table, because sometimes they have no idea what we're dealing with because we're not having conversations with them. Share the challenges, and then they can think in their various roles relative to government when they, issue those permits to build those apartment complexes. They need to think about the ramifications of adding another apartment complex for a certain price range in certain areas. I'm not saying that they can fix everything, but at least we need to have those conversations. And so we acknowledge that reality. My commitment is, until those issues are fixed that sometimes we can't control, that when they enroll those kids in our schools, that they go to high-performing schools. So if they withdraw them in one school and take them across town to the other school, that we have the data that says where they should be, where the teacher needs to start with the student, so we can ensure that they're getting the instruction and resulting in high performance for those students.
Yeah, because a lot of times the paperwork follows. They don't come with the paperwork,
right.
So we have to wait for the paperwork to come.
Right.
So, and they know this, a lot of them, unfortunately, and I say them and I don't mean it.
Oh, we understand.
Yeah, you think you're being slick. You think you're trying to get away with it, but you're hurting your child.
Yeah, but, and I'll give you a different perspective. Sometimes they're trying to survive.
Yeah.
They're trying to survive.
Of probably a board member. So I understand what you mean, but just them not having one or not bringing it to school. Because I'm gonna tell you, to me, this right here is the biggest devil of all. Because if we could keep these either concealed or somewhere, and the children are paying attention to the lesson, because the other thing that happens is somebody steals the cell phone, and then you have all of this kind of conflict. But this right here would really help if they didn't have the, because I don't know why. I know all of us grew up and we didn't have a cell phone. But now y'all kind of act like if your child doesn't have
Ms.
a
Gorey,
cell phone.
we had a conversation about
y'all
this.
already had that conversation?
Well,
I'm sorry.
In
but
one of the previous
I
meetings.
just thought about that. I just know that those type of things would help us out, and just we could have our kids to come in and do right. But I do know that that's a lot of problem right there, and even so much so is if we could also have you parents to conceal your cell phones too, because I get real angry sometimes when I see parents with their children and y'all on those cell phones, and I really would like for you all to talk to your kids and read to your kids.
That's right.
All that kind of stuff. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry I came in late.
But since you mentioned cell phones, Ms. Gorey, one thing that we know that, we have these devices and we're not going to ever get rid of them, right? Unless something else is created. But one thing we are working as a district, we're going to convey to create that high performing culture, we're going to create some expectations that parents can use to say, okay, these are the type things we need to see our kids doing. If you have these devices, these are the type things that you can do to encourage learning and high performance. And they're good to have. I know if I'm listening to someone and they say a word that I don't know, I may, while I talk, and Google the word so I'll figure out what the definition is. So they're great instructional devices. It's all in how you use the device, isn't it?
I agree, but I just went into a school the other year and had a kid pretty much want to curse me out. Because, and I was shocked because I didn't know that we just had kids allow them to outwardly have cell phones, and they had the headphones on, and I was just trying to get his attention, and I, kind of walked up to him and tapped him on his arm, and he was like, he said, who do you think you are touching me? And I was like, I said, well, look, I was just trying to get your attention. And he got a little disrespectful. I said, but, you don't know who I am either. So I said, you trying to tell me off? I'm a board member. I think I write the rules about this. I don't think you're supposed to have this phone out. So we had to have a little conversation. And then, then some boy said, oh, man, that's one of the board members. You can't talk. But we were all right. But it was just that I was just surprised. And I just wanted his attention. And it just amazes me that the whole respect thing with some of the kids. And then I will say, too, some of the parents, we try to tell y'all we got a cell phone. Y'all want to tell us off sometimes, too. So we just need to have some respect both ways. You'll say, I told or you will text your child in the middle of the school day. So we need y'all to stop. Don't text during school time. It can wait. You can call a teacher or whatever. So just some of those things.
I was just thinking about what you were saying, and I've been having some talks with Dr. Beasley. We do have some parents that have some issues, and they are moving around. One of the things I've asked Dr. Beasley and even our former superintendent is to go into these apartment complexes and start talking with them and trying to find ways, even if we can send our kids home with something to eat at night. We have kids, guys, that don't even have food at home at night. And so we've got to, as a community, find out what's going on. We can't just stop with the school system. Sometimes I have to go in my neighborhood, and I live in a nice neighborhood, but some of the kids in my neighborhood don't eat, So we've got to find ways, be creative, get out here and get into our community. So I'm going to challenge everybody here tonight, please. Find out what's going on. I, too, have a child that has special needs, too, and I understand how you feel and everything. I want to address that, and I don't play about him either, so I understand. So, but I just want to address that. But, again, we've got to come up with some creative ways to help our community. Everybody doesn't know. Everybody didn't have a mama, okay? And everybody who was supposed to be somebody's mama was not somebody's mama, okay? So we've got to teach each other. We've got to go back to the old school ways, and can I say something to you all? Please, when you all go in this year, be very open-minded. I don't want the teachers talking down to the children. I want them, just like Dr. Beasley says, talking up to the children. And that's one thing we're going to push as a board. We're going to talk up to each other. We've got to start coming back together as a community and sticking together and getting our children back. And I'm going to preach that, I'm going to teach that, and I'm going to keep saying that to us until I get it out into the atmosphere and God just brings us all together to do what we're supposed to do. No one should be raising our children but us. And that's all of us. And so we've got to get back to those old school ways. We've got to get in there and chastise our children and make sure that we train them up to be what they're supposed to be in life, and that is great. So please, y'all, you know, I love this session because I just get a chance to talk to you all and see you all and hear the things, and I don't call it gripe, but it's what we need to do as a community.
That's right.
All right?
I've seen the hands and I'm going in order.
Hi, my name is Tasha Galloway, and I'm a parent of a student at East Clayton Elementary. I have a 6th grade student going to Rex Mill STEM program and a 9th grader going to Morrow High Magnet program. So I'm a very strong proponent of education. I have several concerns with the Clayton County school system, but I'll just mention one or two. One of my concerns is the kids' ability or lack thereof to write. Yes. I cannot tell you, when I was growing up eons ago, we had a writing program. And I can't remember how often we did it throughout the school year, but we went several times, and it was for a whole day. We went, and they taught us the different types of writing. And I believe that helped me out a lot. The kids, I don't see that today. I've yet, when my kids have to write an essay, I have yet to see the stages that they are in, doing an outline, the teacher marking up the outline, doing a rough draft, the teacher marking up the rough draft, and then getting to that final essay. It irritates me so bad when my kids come to me wanting help to write an essay. I'm like, this is unbelievable to me. So I would like for Clayton County, I was in DeKalb County. I grew up in DeKalb County. So I would like for Clayton County to kind of model what they did, because it helped me tremendously. It really did. It was done in DeKalb County, so I know it's something that Clayton County should be able to do. And then my other concern is the kids, especially during the summer, when they have nothing to do, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. They get into stuff. So is there, or have we, I guess, created an alliance with the business community when the kids get out, the ones that are of working age, to get a job? I know my son, he's going to the 9th, but he was trying to get a job this summer. And I know Kroger will let them work at 16. But I think if we can get the kids working, it will kind of, I think, eliminate some of the issues, the stealing and all of that. I had jury duty a couple of weeks ago. I was on a jury where I had to put a 23-year-old away for 20 years. Oh. Mm-hmm. That bothers me every night I go to sleep. Every night. 23-year-old for robbing. For robbing somebody. He got 20 years. Yep. So that's something I would like to see, kind of the school system working with the business community to kind of get our kids off the street and working and doing something productive.
And you'll see more movement in that area as we establish partnerships. And even in our previous session, Georgia Powell was here, and that was one thing Ms. Gorey mentioned, and others. We wanted to see more opportunities for our kids to get employment during the summer and throughout the year. I know I worked as a student in high school after school, left maybe at 2 o'clock and worked until 5 o'clock. It's a great opportunity. You know, sometimes we, like you said, Ms. Galloway, we tell them not to steal, but what is a man gonna do when he has needs and he can't find a job? Human nature is survival, isn't it? And so They know it's wrong, but they're trying to do what? Survive. And that's not to excuse it. So we do as a community, and that's why I'm meeting with all the agencies and the commissioners and the chamber so we can make sure we have a comprehensive strategy. Relative to the writing, as a matter of fact, during Tuesday's principal retreat, writing was a topic with our principals. And so we have built within our curriculum some very clear, concise, precise expectations about student writing. Your students should be writing just like you described there, different types of genres of writing. And so what I would say to all of our parents, if you don't see something instructionally that you know you should see, like writing, I would start with the teacher and the principal. Everybody knows that, and I can show you in our curriculum where there are expectations outlined. If people are not doing it, then me, the superintendent, assistant superintendents, and others need to hold people accountable. Hold people accountable. But as a parent, you should see that. You should see that. We do have some curriculum nights that we've communicated, and we'll be communicating for September. That would be a great opportunity for you to have a conversation with the parents and your principal about, okay, what's happening in the area of writing? You all know, in order to write well, you got to do what? You got to read and write, don't you? And so writing is an essential component even to comprehension levels. You know, when you can write, it can solidify one's comprehension. So I would be interested to know very specifically if your child is having experiences and instructional experiences and you don't see writing going on, that's something we need to fix. We need to know about so we can address it.
I have two responses to some of the communications and questions, specifically one to writing. I grew up with a mother who taught me to write. I literally had to read the dictionary and, formulate responses and essays. And my question to my teacher this year, my daughter was in the 4th grade, and I did not like her style. I did not like the process. And so I came home and taught her the way that I was taught. And her teacher said, that's not right, because when she takes the GMAS, her answers aren't going to be right. And so she showed me specifically in GMAS what their expectations are, and they had nothing to what my expectations are. Right. So I had to dial back some and say, okay, teach her your way, but I don't like it. Yeah. And so I'm telling her, this is the way they're teaching you, but it's not right. Yeah. So then my responsibility, which I got really frustrated, is now it's not a county level, this is a state level issue. Yeah. We as parents, now we have to just not get involved here, but get involved at the state level as to what our expectations are for our children. Right. If this is the test, one of my best friends was one of the reviewers for the test. She was on the job 2 weeks. She said, I cannot grade this, it's wrong. And I mean, we went to, a really great private school at home, so she had to quit because in good conscience, you can't grade this, whatever they're expecting. It was just crazy. So on the state level, I think that's where we have to have our input and our impact to make sure that what we got 20 years ago is the right thing. As far as your comment about the phones, and I will admit I'm guilty. I'm a 10-year-old with the phone. And her dad, who's a cop, has said safety. What if something happens? And so my question to the chief, I think he's gone, is there, since that's going to be the conversation that comes back from the parents, an app that we can use as parents outside of Infinite Campus, or something that the students can use? So when they say, oh, well, our kids have to have a phone for safety, can we come back and say, well, there's an app we guys want you to download. If something happens, this is what you need to do, in defense of we got to have a cell phone?
That's a good question, but I want to assure you as a parent, let's say that something happens nationally and all the cell phones go out. We got a plan. There are things that we have got to do. Every school has a safe school plan. There are processes and decisions that we'll be making to ensure that our students are safe. So I understand. Remember now, even when we were in school, emergencies still happened, didn't they? But we were safe and parents were informed. Maybe not at that minute when the incident happened, that second, but they were informed, just as not as quickly. I think this just gives us, it just reduces the amount of time between when the incident happens and when you are informed. So we do have plans. So I hear you, and I don't know if there are any apps out there that will do what you just requested, but let's assume that the worst case scenario happens and somebody destroys the satellites and all the phones go out. We got a plan, and we still have got to function, and we've got to make sure that our kids are safe and that we communicate, etc. And so what I would always say is, if you can't reach the child, when you go to the school, what are you going to do? You're going to go to that office, or you're going to go to that command center and get the information that you need. So don't don't feel like, I understand.
Something that happened at a school, and that's the whole thing. And I say, even if your child has the cell phone, and the reason, I'm not just anti-cell phone, but I can just see when you have an emergency. When we try to get your kid down the hallway and get to safety, they trying to text you or whatever. Sometimes the cell phone is a little detrimental, But I'm just saying, if we could just kind of get out of the habit of just, because you just got to touch it. You just got to, see what's going on or whatever. And, and they're good educationally. I wanted to go back to her point, Ms. Galloway. You know what? I'm glad I finally got to meet you. I've been seeing your emails. You were talking about the jobs.
That was one of the first parents I met when I was inducted into Clayton County.
Sona Singleton mentioned to me, Commissioner Singleton mentioned to me, too, about jobs. I don't know how many people in here have kids that swim, that are on some of these swim teams in middle school or whatever, but she was saying this year they needed a lifeguard at some of the senior centers or whatever. So next year, if you're thinking about that, if your kid is on the swim team and they can pass whatever they need to pass
CPR,
to be a lifeguard, those are some things. And we are going to try to work, because I just had my neighbor get broken in. I hate for the summer to come, and hopefully even we could talk with Dr. Beasley about even doing maybe some really enrichment things, even if we had kids maybe in extra school or whatever, not just for remediation. I'm trying to talk him into doing a program.
I'll be honest, I'm moving away from that remediation concept for summer school. I want to do more acceleration and enrichment. I know we've got kids who need to come up, but if they're on first grade level, but they're in fifth grade, if you keep giving them first grade level work, how are they going to ever get up to fifth grade level work? And so we're working on even that. And just so you know, we've got to have some conversations about our retention and promotion policy too, in light of the state law and tests. And so more conversations to come in that regard. We want to do what's good for our children, but I want our kids to be high performing. And it's what we do on a daily basis and how we approach instruction that will determine whether or not they stay where they are or they become very high performing. And so if we keep doing what we've been doing, we're going to keep getting the results. And I've got recent results that say that if we don't fundamentally change what we're doing, all we're going to do is see the same thing this time next year. And so we're going to do some fundamentally different things. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple things real quick. So I totally agree with what you're saying about cell phones. I noticed a big change. The first 2 years my son was at Lovejoy, he couldn't do anything with his cell phone. I never heard from him during the day, and that was perfectly fine with me. This year, or his 11th grade year, he started texting me in the middle of the day asking questions. He actually said that some of his teachers were actually telling them they can go ahead and listen to their phone or use their phone in the classroom, which started making me concerned. So I definitely understand what you're saying. But one thing that part of what I'm doing while I'm sitting here is also putting some of your comments on my Facebook page. So I'm sharing with parents who weren't able to be here right now. So one question was about addressing graduation rates, and if you have any specific activities or things that you're thinking about doing to help increase and enhance graduation rates of seniors. And then another question that I had, just listening to everybody talk about resources and what's available and what do we do with the kids over the summer. And, it seems like I always find out about everything the day after the deadline for it. And each school has a website, each school has a Facebook page, but nothing on those pages seems to ever be updated to the point where we can learn what's going on. And so is there a standard, or can there be a new standard that actually requires a certain amount of updates or information or something on those pages? Because my son and I were actually in the car coming from Georgia Southern, and we were looking for some information, and it seems like it's information that should be right on the front of Lovejoy High School's page. And we had to dig, and I think we ended up going to Clayton County website, dig around a little bit, we did find it, but it just seems like if there's going to be a Facebook page, if there's going to be a website, what's the standard for ensuring that the calendar is updated, that the information and the content is updated, and not just pictures of the cheerleaders or the basketball team? That's awesome, but,
Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
other
Thank you
pieces.
for the questions. I'll start with the second question first about the website and the social media. And all due fairness to the principals, you know, they've not been able to really do the social media thing because we need to, as a district, we need to make sure that they're trained and that they know exactly what should be posted on those social media. And I think we're, clearly I'm a social media person, so they will be. It is. It's a great activity. So we'll be working to make sure that we have certain things on all websites. So more to come in that area. Now, relative to your first issue that you mentioned about grad rate, we have a 69% grad rate. One thing I think we've got to start doing, and parents, I need you to help other parents. The students who complete the pathways that exist, their grad rate is close to 90%. So if we can get more kids completing pathways, that increases the likelihood of them graduating on time. So that's one part of the strategy. Another part is making sure we get more kids successful in the 9th grade. The 9th grade is that year where if you lose a kid, that's the year you're going to lose them. If you can get them beyond the 9th grade year, more than likely you're going to keep them and they're going to graduate on time. And so we're working to make sure we have some transition activities, but we're also providing some support. Like Forest Park has Communities and Schools, a great resource to help with the grad rate. And so we're going to expand that to 3 other high schools this year as well. We're going to work to ensure that all of our principals, and we've had this conversation, I want them monitoring every progress report, the number of students in all the core all the areas, but in particular the core that are making A's, B's, C's, and D's, and how many at the end of the semester are actually earning all their credits. That's the key right there. If you can get more kids earning their credits every semester, then they are going to stay in school. Oftentimes kids drop out of school because they feel defeated. And so we're trying to take away that feeling of defeat. If they see that if they had an opportunity to earn 6 credits and they got all 6, they're going to come back. And so we're working to ensure that we're monitoring. And I have the technology department, we're about to implement a dashboard that will pull the academic data, the attendance data, the discipline data, and principals will be able to see on a daily basis an at-risk flash that says these students you need to maybe pay attention to because something's going on with their attendance, with their discipline, or with their grades. And so that's a great way of intervening and being proactive instead of waiting until they hadn't been in school for a whole semester. They can see very quickly the kids are here, but they're having some challenges. You need to get with your social worker, your counselors, et cetera, others, teachers, and maybe address these children. So we're working to implement some dashboards that will allow principals to know on a daily, weekly basis students that they need to be addressing to provide support to those students. I think sometimes just using the resources that we currently have, we have counselors in place, we have social workers, we have several resources. I think just using those resources very effectively is also a part of the comprehensive strategy. I think ensuring that our kids take advantage of dual enrollment opportunities is also a part of the strategy as well. So just several pieces to this comprehensive strategy that I think is going to help us. We anticipate to see a bump up in our grad rate this year, of course, but I think we're going to see with this engaged community and these very concerted efforts in this comprehensive approach, we're going to, if the nation's grad rate is about 82%, there's no reason that ours shouldn't be higher than the nation. And I won't be satisfied until we get as close to 100% or 100%, and none of us should be. So you'll see more to come, so let's see. And I'm of the belief that you don't have to go up 1% and 2% every year, but you can go up 10 and 15% depending on what you do to retain, because again, that 9th grade year is that critical year. If we can keep them in 9th grade, we're going to bump that grad rate up to 90% or higher. And so you'll see a lot of effort and focus. We've already given high schools that needed an additional AP and AP so they can monitor the attendance more, the discipline more, and I'm bringing in some leadership mentors to work with the APs this year who are responsible for discipline and attendance, so they can look at what they're doing to help them, support them, to ensure that they're actually using what the research says they ought to be doing to hold on to these students. Hold the students accountable, but support the students. Understand that these kids are coming from homes that have some issues going on. And what we've got to do is recognize that, sympathize, empathize with it, whichever word is appropriate, and help our kids navigate life. Life is going to happen. I can't fix everything in your house. I had some issues growing up myself, but I had to figure out how to navigate through those issues, stay in school, get my work done, come to school when family got on my nerves, stay positive, go home, deal with it, go in my room, study, whatever it takes. Get back up the next morning, go back to school, and do that for 4 years so I could get a high school diploma, get myself somewhere to college, and make a different life for myself. And we've got to help our kids realize that life is going to happen. Some things are beyond your control, but here's some strategies to help you deal with it. Here's a school, a safe place for you to come on a daily basis. So we're more to come in that area. But those things that I mentioned, we've been already working on those. So we anticipate to see some improvements even this year in our grad rate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're interested, there's a link already out there if you want to work on, be considered for the Technology Advisory Committee. There's a link on the website. Go and sign up for that. Okay?
Yes.
On the Clayton County website.
Good evening, sir. Up here.
I can see the form.
Oh, that's good. I'm sorry I have some physical challenges, but
yes,
I apologize for getting here late. Maybe one day I hope Clayton County do update the system for people with disability to be able to get more accessible. I just have a couple questions here, and I heard you talking about the AP mentors. I'm a parent counsel with Drew High School. What kind of mentors are you bringing in with the Tyler One for the parents mentoring to try to get to bridge this gap? That's a big school which need monitors, bus monitors, and things like that could help. Congratulations, first of all. I don't know if you remember me, but I met you when you first came in. So I say you worked your way into that. So secondly, my other question being, in my child's neighborhood, they have received some letters. I don't know whether you said it, and I came in late, about the letter saying that she should report to North Clayton. Now, we went through the process for her to stay at Drew. So is this just a clerical error? Is it something else that I'm gonna have to now be prepared to face with the Drew principal, or what is this?
What I would always tell you to do, your child, did you say they're currently at Drew?
They're currently at Drew. We went through the process.
But you want them to stay at Drew?
Correct.
They are zoned to go where? To
North Clayton.
North Clayton. We had a process in place where, what grade are they in?
They were a 9th grader. They're going up to the 10th.
Yeah, all the 9th graders were expected to go to their new schools. However, we do have a process in place, not saying that that decision will be changed. We do have a process in place, but I want you to go to your school, the Drew High School. They know the process, and they will tell you, they will help you in following that process if you want consideration, okay?
Right, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I'm part of the parent council. I went through the process, and I guess the other parents that were nervous was because they went through the process too, but they yet still receive these letters. So I'm trying to get some clarity that I should take back to them.
Yeah, but you should know if you went through the process and you still got a letter that the child has to go to North Clayton, that means that because of the rezoning and space issues, they will have to go to North Clayton High School.
Okay, now, so secondly, so being that Drew is a Title I, is there a new program that you're trying to get more of the parent involvement?
Well, all of our schools are Title I, and every school has a parent liaison, and the role of the parent liaison is to work with the principal to create many opportunities to get more parents involved and engaged. Clearly, there's work for us to do in that area. That's why we're creating a new department, a central department, where we have individuals who are going to be working to lead family engagement, community engagement in our district, who will be working with the parent liaisons to create more opportunities for our parents to be engaged.
Okay, so where are these people's names announced at? Are they on the board? Are they on the web page, on the school page?
It's a new department, and I'm in the process of hiring now.
Okay, last thing is the parent council. When are we going to get an electric dashboard instead of them going out, putting all the announcements on by hand?
That's a good question. We've already had a conversation with the athletics department, and they're bringing me proposals with some options as to how we can place electronic scoreboards at all of our major stadiums. And so we're working toward that.
Okay, I'm not talking about the athletic. I'm talking about in the front of the school.
Oh, you mean a marquee?
Yeah, marquee that would help the parents, so when they drop off their kids, there could be a marquee to give you information about what's going on at the school, what's being set up. That would be another avenue of getting information out. Because like someone else said, I get information, like I went on the page today, it has nothing about the 20th, but I got everything about the 19th.
Yeah.
So I'm the day behind. Now I've been following, luckily I got the information last month, so I've been monitoring it on a daily basis. But that is constantly the thing that is happening, like with my daughter with the summer program. And I'm gonna say this in closing, where's our connection with Morehouse with the STEM program? Where's our connection with the aerospace? Where's our connection with Georgia Tech? I know you don't, these are questions that I'm giving you now that hopefully you will give me an answer later on.
Yes, sir.
Because unfortunately, they talk about technology. My kids use her phone for her homework and all her work. So it's a little bit too late for me to take my phone from her. When she going to school and they got her grades and they got their homework on it. So I think we need to stay with that, but where is the connection?
Well, I appreciate that. Relative to the marquees, I'll have to find more information out. I know some schools have electronic marquees, clearly some do not. And I'm sure as we're building schools and facilities that they're getting electronic marquees. We may have to, as a community, think about a plan for upgrading those schools that may not have electronic marquees. Relative to the innovative STEM ideas and program, we've met with the Career Technology Department. We're working toward schools having STEM programs or being STEM schools over the next 3 years. We're doing aviation, planning for aviation at the North Clayton High School, at Morrow High School. We're doing film and theater at Mundy's Mill High School. We're doing firefighting at Drew and Mundy's Mill High School. So we're working to really get our kids in these STEM and healthcare areas where the jobs are. This morning we talked to Georgia Power about even helping our kids be linemen, individuals who help fix the power lines. And so we're going to be assessing all of the pathways at all the schools to ensure that we have pathways that our kids can go into, and not just go into and complete, but when they leave high school, have some type of credential, go to college, post-secondary, college, or junior college, get some type of credential, but land in these high-paying jobs. Just more to come in that area. I'll have to check. I know we have a partnership with Clayton State. I hadn't heard of any partnerships with Morehouse and Clark Atlanta, no more than maybe some of our kids being accepted at those schools. But we do have connections with individuals, and we're just going to continue to work on expanding our partnership. So I've gotten your comments. I've made some notes here on my phone, so more to come in that area. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair. Because actually, to keep it simple, we need real live mentors, you know, the construction workers, the carpenters.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Metropolitan Technical School mentors need to be at the school, not at the end of the year. We need people there throughout the school year that has real jobs that these students can see that they can go out, because every student is not going to go out and be no genius or go to no four-year college.
Well, I'll say this, there's nothing right now, we've got every principal, and we'll work with our principals on this, there's nothing right now that would prevent principals from working with partners to bring in mentors for their students. And so did I hear you say you were a counselor at one of the schools?
I'm on the parent council, at Drew High School.
Okay. So that's an area that our counselors and our principals can be working together to bring in additional mentors. But I think we have a role at the central office, in particular my office, is making sure we expand the number of partners that we have so principals will have a plethora of partners that they can choose from to bring these mentors into the school. And that's an area that we have identified as an action step going forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, she was a ninth grader. Actually, I had a daughter. I've been with them for 4 years. I know the program that you're referring to because I did speak with the gentleman that started the after-school program that meets on Wednesday. And I met with him earlier when they were starting out the program. My thing being that, you know, as a Clayton County resident, I get tired of seeing everybody from Fulton County, they're not attending these, even though he started this. They had a program in Morehouse, but there was no kids from Clayton County at their program. That's what I'm saying. And I commend him for starting that, and I'm trying to work with him also. So, but thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
We also have something, guys, at Atlanta Technical College, and I took Brian over the other day to take the active placer test. That's the test that the kids can go in and take, and that will determine what they will do at the technical school. So that's another avenue that you all can take if you want your child. Like he said, everybody's child is not going to college, but they can get that technical degree or whatever they have available before they graduate.
And I agree with him because I sent you out an email today because I was upset that I just saw that Delta Airlines just gave Atlanta Public Schools about $800,000.
Thank you. Yes.
And I could not get them to. Girl, we had a student that had the opportunity to go to Australia, and I could not get them to give her a ticket to fly to Australia, and they getting a tax break, and you know they got some stuff in Clayton, and also was it Chick-fil-A Foundation gave Atlanta Public Schools $1 million, and Truett Cathy's house is in Clayton County, so we need to be capitalizing on some of this stuff, and I'm tired of. I follow them on Twitter, and I get mad every day when I see all the money they putting in there. We need the same thing for our children in Clayton, but Dr. Beasley has been working.
Yes, ma'am.
We're gonna get some of those.
So it's just a matter of time before you see that donation coming to Clayton. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Washington for one day on next Tuesday to address an issue where Delta basically is trying to stop giving our county through federal regulation $8 million a year in our SPLOST program from fuel taxes. So we're working through that issue, and we're working with our communications department. So there are some things that I may need you all to be doing pretty soon because we're going to put some pressure on Delta. And so once I give y'all to go ahead, then I need y'all to go ahead and do what you got to do. Use your Facebook. I ain't ready to release y'all yet because I came up with my political. But once I say it's time to fight, it's going to be time to fight. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. And so I'm serious. I tell staff already knows we got a political map. I got a plan. So they're going to do it today willingly, or they're going to do it under some pressure. But we're not going to let people sit in our county and not support our children. I'm just not that type person. And so we're not going to let that. So I need you all, I mean, listen, it's just a matter of time. So give me a chance to do my little Washington visit, see what happens. but we got a plan, okay? All right, okay.
Just wanted to inform you that there are some businesses that reward kids for their grades. So where I live is near the Krispy Kreme area. And so if you could get this out to the different schools in different areas so they can partner with some of these businesses that could give incentives for their grades. For every A, Krispy Kreme gives a free donut.
Really?
You know, so I mean, it's something that's simple, but elementary, we started with elementary, and so I want to carry that on with my kids. In addition, one last thing is, you mentioned the mentorship. If you could do the mentorship, not just on the middle school and high school level, but as we start with the elementary. We had a male mentorship in elementary. Something went wrong at the school, and the principal just shut it down for the males. So you only had girls. Everything was for the girls, nothing for the boys. So this is something that it may seem it's not minute to me, but you know, it's something that's necessary for these black boys in our communities. They need this on a elementary level, going to middle school, going to high school, on every level. So if you could just share that with the principals, I would appreciate that.
You know it will be done.
Any other questions?
All right, you all. Can I go home now? I've got a lot to think about. You all have given me a long list of things. Go to the website and leave your feedback, okay? And we'll just continue to have these opportunities. When we have the next engagement opportunity, I'll be able to give you an update on some of the things that you've given me. So you hadn't given me anything that we hadn't been discussing and working on. So it's just a matter, I'm glad to hear you all are talking my kind of talk, because really this is what school districts should be doing to move students to higher levels of performance. Thank everyone for being here. I look forward to seeing you all at the next opportunity. So pay attention to the schedule that's on the website, okay? Say that again. Oh, if Nikki, if you want us to include you in the email communication, leave it with Nikki over here. So make sure we get your email address. Or you can go to the website and send use the link on the website, and we'll get it to communications department as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.